It's calling the Audible. It's a bit different this year. We're no longer in the shipping container in our lovely homes. We are in our lovely homes right now. We're no longer in person together. We are remote. It's a new format of calling the Audible for the winter 2024 season. Iggy Magnets, good evening to you, my friend.
And I'm unmuted. There we go. I was talking.
Classic Iggy.
The snowstorm's coming down here in Montreal, but no longer in the armpit, like you said. We're at our lovely confines of our homes.
Well, you do the traditional mute yourself and mute everyone else here, but we're lucky to be back here.
Mute myself.
I think you did mute yourself. I think PZ muted you from where he is right now. Let's remember where PZ is. It is definitely a new look now for CTA. We're going with this new look to kind of give it a bit of a change. We do have a new producer as well, as Eagle is, I guess, on sabbatical, I guess. Is that the term we're going to use for Eagle for the time being?
Yeah, he said the same thing about you, so yes.
Yeah, exactly. He's flown south for the winter, and he might be back for the spring or summer, whatever it is. So it is us. It's Ali Reza who's now taken over. He's now known as the Nightingale, which is the bird of the national bird in Iran, where he's from. I looked it up the other day, and I got the approval from Ali Reza to call him the Nightingale. So he's now known as the Nightingale. So we go from one, feathered bird to now this bird of feather over here in the Nightingale. So let's dive into it, Iggy, and let's get into what we have. As we always do league announcements. And first and foremost, we have to get to some key topics here as we move into the first welcome of the season here. And it is now going to be week 2 as of Saturday and beyond. And what does that mean, Iggy? It is picture day. So we will let teams know that we will take your team picture at whichever field you will be playing in week 2 and beyond. So please be advised that your team should be on time, and that we'll either do it before the game or at halftime. I know, Iggy, we always get can we wait till next week? Can we do this next week because my guys aren't here? What is the answer to that question if we get that from which we know from multiple teams as we move forward?
Exactly. It's very simple. Your scorekeeper will actually be the one taking your picture. Basically, we're going to take your picture now, and once you get your jerseys or once you have your other teammate, you can take a second picture, and then we'll re-upload that second one. But since you're here right now, 6 of your teammates at least are here, so we're going to take a picture now.
So keep that in mind, guys, and be understanding towards the scorekeepers, because they're trying to do 5 million things, which is the scorekeep, tracking numbers, your uniforms, and take the pictures. It's for you guys, right? I know we want to have the whole team in the kumbaya of taking a nice family portrait for the season, but just be kind to the scorekeepers out there. And again, as Iggy said, we'll take the initial one, and we'll do another one if we have to down the road to kind of update the whole team profile as well. Uniforms. Look, we give the grace, as everyone knows in the league rules, we give grace for the first 2 weeks on your team uniform. But after week 2, it is enforced. What does that mean? If you do not have a proper uniform, which means that it's on the same team color as your team, maybe it's all white and you're wearing a red, that won't count. If you have a number on the back of it, if it's marked or taped, it will not count. So you must have a proper uniform with a proper number on the back of it or on the front, wherever it's visible. And if it's not as what it's supposed to be for what the league has mandated, you will not get the games or the stats for that game until you change your uniform towards the proper protocols.
Yeah, and that sucks, right? Because that's why all of us players play in the league. We love the stats. We love the awards come with the stats. The awards, of course, QB of the year, receiver of the year, etc. We all play for the stats. So just wear the baseline in any sports league really is to wear a same color uniform as everyone else on your team and wear a proper number. Pretty simple.
And just to further that point with uniform protocols, we always get it. And Iggy knows what I'm talking about. At the end of the year, we always get that email from the captain. Hey, John Smith or James Smith was playing week 2 Loyola on Sunday at 4:00. He or she was there, but had the uniform, and we have to do a whole investigation. If you notice, and we always encourage captains and players to look at the box score after your game. And if you notice there's a discrepancy with maybe a stat or that, hey, I wasn't on that list and I was there, you have to email us ASAP so we can do a proper, thorough investigation to make sure that, hey, you were there and it was confirmed or not. So that's why it's important to really keep on top of your roster and making sure that's in check for what you want to do moving forward. And also, just to further point, Iggy, players who don't play, who are hurt, but show up and don't check in, right? What does that mean? Your player's hurt and he or she's there on the sidelines. But we don't know. The scorekeepers don't know. You have to tell that person or your captain, say, hey, look, John or Jay Smith is right there. They're checking in with you. And that's how you get your game played as well as a DNP. So you do get your accumulation of games if you are hurt for the majority of the season.
Yeah, and it's really important for, like you're saying, reconciling the box score of your game within 7 days, because especially now in the winter season, well, it's our biggest season here, so there's scorekeepers are doing 30 games, up to 30 games in 1 week. So they see up to 60 teams. They're not going to remember 14, 21, 30 days down the line. So you really got that 7-day window to verify your roster and make sure that everyone got their game played and their stats here.
Absolutely. So again, uniforms, make sure you're on top of that after week 2, being forced for week 3 and beyond. And if you guys have injured players, make sure you have them check in, or you check them in with them saying, hey, they're here. We're checking them in as well moving forward. Another thing to look at as well going towards the season as we get deeper and deeper is complex protocols. What does that mean? Look, we're very likely to play in multiple complexes, whether it's Stade Hébert, Loyola, Brossard, Saint Laurent, Stade de Montréal, Laval, and God knows where else we'll play now. But everyone has a different set of rules, and we want to make sure that you guys know these rules here. So for those who play in Brossard, they enforce the boots rule. What does that mean? When you come to the turf, you have to put on either your cleats or a clean pair of running shoes, because they don't want any boots that's infiltrated by salt or that's wet coming up from the snow that we have now moving forward onto the turf. So please be cool about it, because we did have some issues with guys who don't want to wear their cleats or shoes, but that is a rule that we cannot break. We have to respect that. So please make sure that you take off your boots before you hit the turf, and whether it's your cleats or shoes as well. Another thing to look at is changing, right? A lot of adults, there's a lot of kids leagues before us, right? So we encourage those adults who do play in this league to change in the locker rooms before coming to the field. We get complaints from the bureau, from the offices, and from the parents that, hey, look, why are these idiots changing in front of my son and daughter? That's not right, which I totally get and respect. So please, if you know you're playing the first game of that opening window of games, please go change in the locker room so that we don't have these headaches. And I don't want the headaches, neither does Iggy want the headaches of complaints from the offices and from the managers that watch these fields.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the complexes have assigned locker rooms, right? Stade de Montréal, Saint Laurent complex, they all have assigned locker rooms for your teams for that night. Especially, like you said, Mo, for the opening slate of games, 6 o'clock on weekend games and 9 o'clock on weeknights.
Yeah, and this is more applicable to Saint Laurent, Saint Leonard as well, Loyola to an extent, even Brossard to an extent. But again, if you see there's a minor league association having their practice and you got to change full out, let's go in the locker room. It's literally a 5-minute thing for you to go to the locker room, change up, and come to the field. It just saves everyone a headache as well. So please keep that in mind when it comes to complex protocols, rules as well. Iggy, we do have a change in the aesthetics of FPF with our flag belts, my friend.
Oh, the new flag belts, yes. So a lot of people have been coming to see us scorekeepers. We had our old white flag belts. They're limited quantity now. Those sell for $5 as always. But like you're mentioning, Mo and Ali Reza, if you can pull this up now on the website, we have our green camo flags that sell for $10. So new flags moving forward for FPF.
Yeah, so again, the white ones are now while supplies last, and once they're done, they're done. They're not going to be back in rotation, and we transition to these camouflage flag belts, which go for $10. And that's the one thing we got to clear up, is that moving forward, they will be $10 for the flags. And so you come see the scorekeepers for that. But again, just to make sure that we don't have no confusion, they will no longer be $5, but $10 moving ahead here. We got to pay for Iggy's salary here at FPF with what we have to do. Iggs, we talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
You like Minecraft, Mo?
I do.
You're gonna have to. You're forced to like Minecraft now.
Of course. Okay, so rule book and roster verification, Iggy. Let's explain that to our listeners and viewers. How is that applied to them, given that we're early in the season?
Yeah, so already a lot of teams are naturally busting the cap, so to speak. So what does that mean especially if you're a new team? Because a lot of returning teams already know how the cap system works. But for the new teams out there, especially those that have one or two, maybe three players that have already played in the league, using our roster verification tool that you can see pulled up on the website here, you can see that for whatever division you play in, your cap cannot surpass a certain number. So you enter your team. So we're going to bring Paulo Della Rocca out of retirement here just to give the viewers an idea. I'm going to have him at quarterback. I'll be one of his receivers. So you can see as you build your roster, the cap will go up on your total. And then GM Coletherus as the Eagle, what was left to do. We'll add Eagle himself here. We'll grab the 7 players. We'll do the first deal that comes up with, let's see, my snapper. We'll have Rec snapping for us. So as soon as you hit your 7th player, it's going to take the top 6 offensive players and top 6 defensive players and wipe out in red your lowest person that no longer counts towards the cap. So, for example, here we have a team. I built a team with a cap of 460. So I can we can suit up in Division 3, which would be a cap of 480. And I can suit up this roster in Co-Ed 1 as well with Rekka and a few other female players that would need to join this team. As for the QB cap, again, it doesn't particularly cross out which division you cannot play for like it does for the team cap. But given that Paulo 80, he's 80.9 is the cap for P's. So he can only throw in Division 3, 2, 1, as well as Co-Ed 1 and Co-Ed 2. He could throw in Co-Ed 2 because there is a QB flex cap, but we'll save that one for another time.
Right, and this let everyone know, captains in particular who come up to the scorekeepers, hey, are we good to go? We're not the judge and jury here. You have to do it yourself. The reason why is that if we say yes and you bust a cap, it is the scorekeepers' asses that get ripped by the suits at FPF. So we will tell you right away, it is not our responsibility to let you know. So please check on the website as Iggy showed right now to make sure that you guys have not gone over the cap with who you have on your roster. So again, the scorekeepers are not responsible for it. We'll just tell you, nope, it's on you guys to figure it out moving forward here. Anything else with the rules and regulations, Iggy?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, definitely suggest to read over the rule book, especially if you're a new team. A lot of new teams don't know all the rules, which is perfectly normal. So in our resources documents, you can take a look at the rule book available in both English and French. Give it a read at least once, just so you know what you're dealing with. And of course, referees are always there to help you in your first few games, kind of teach the game for those who don't know it.
Right. Speaking of rules, there are a couple of rule adjustments this year. First and foremost, one of the things that we've had as a common conclusion has been ties. And that's been an eyesore that has either gotten teams in the playoffs or has lost them a playoff spot because they had one too many ties. But now this year, we have a new rule in place where if you're tied after the full game, you go to a one-round shootout format. Now, what does that mean? Both teams would have a chance to win in overtime in a one-round series. And if nothing happens after that one round where no one scores or whatever it is, nothing happens, it's a tie or there's a chance to win. So what does that mean? Team A will go for 1 or 2, whatever they desire, and Team B has to either match or win the game, essentially. So there is a chance of you winning the game through overtime window, which is one round, nothing more than that, and nothing happens. It ends up being ties, and that means you guys are both losers moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. So the ties, actually, there's been a couple ties already and a couple of overtime games, some that still ended in a tie, others that resulted in a win for some teams. So already the overtime has come into effect and broken a deadlock. Now, one of the reasons why we do have overtime, because that does take an extra minute or two, One of the other rule changes, of course, Mo, is that our mercy rule has been decreased to 15 points. Instead of the 18-point lead that a team would have over their opponents would end the game, that number is now reduced to 15. Again, that was brought out in one of our Instagram posts. But the rationale behind that is that the maximum number of points you can score in when there's 5 or less plays is 14 points, right? You got a touchdown, you go for the onside kick and convert, score a touchdown after that, that's 12 points, and then get a 2-point convert, that's 14 points. So once you have a 15-point lead with 5 plays remaining, that's an insurmountable lead in FPF, so the game is officially over then.
Right, so there's that as well. And then now also the offside rule, right, the rusher rule, with what's going on with that. So rusher interference can be a loss of down based on the decision of choice here. So let's explain that. If the pass rusher gets interfered by someone from the offense, what does that mean, Iggy?
Yeah, so the option or the choice always goes to the defense. They can of course decline the penalty if it's just an incomplete pass. They can move a team back 5 yards and repeat the down. Say it's first down and 10, they can have them go first and 15, or you can have the play result in a loss of down. So if it comes at a critical time, like on 4th down, like it did in my game, the Dirty Birds got a pass rusher interference call on 4th down, 1 yard away from our end zone. They don't have another chance from 4th and 6 to try and score. That was a loss of downs and therefore a turnover on downs. So it can be a really game-changing play, this new rule.
Okay, so again, if you have any rules questions, please email us. Ask the referees. They're more than friendly enough to answer your questions about these rules moving forward. Now, as for CTA, as you see right now, we're not physically in the same shipping container as we once were for many, many years. This is now the new look of CTA, what we're going to have, at least for the winter season. So what does this mean here? Because winter's our biggest league of teams, I believe there's, 15 divisions, Iggy, if I stand correct on that?
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, roughly 15 divisions, right? We decided to break it down to 2 brands, like it's WWE, right? The Raw brand, the SmackDown brand. And so what this means is that moving forward from week 2 and beyond, we'll have 2 shows per week. So that means we'll have a show on Tuesday and a show on Thursday. I will host a show on Tuesday. Iggy will host a show on Thursday, but we will not be doing the same divisions. So we'll have an alternation. We'll alternate on the divisions every 2 weeks here, where if I'm doing division, say 1, 4A, 5B, co-ed 1, women's 2, whatever it is, some combination like that, he will do the other divisions that I'm not covering, and then we'll reverse it as we move along here. So we get different viewpoints, we get different analysis, and most importantly, though, that we get the full coverage without doing a 5-hour mega cast show that we always would do back in the old shipping container days.
Yeah, exactly. But it boils down to that you'll do half the divisions on the Tuesday, and I'll do the other half on the Thursday. But we're not necessarily doing the same divisions each week. We'll alternate based on contributors that are going to be joining us hosting the show, right? So just to name a few of them, we do have Jerome Hovington, Manuel Arbois, just to name a few of some of the contributors that are going to be on with us on Calling the Audible.
Don't forget Dan Lazare too. I believe Brent Bach. We'll have, and not only it doesn't have to be even writers, it can be also players who want to jump in on the show that want to talk to Iggy and I, whichever division we're covering for that week or weeks that we have for that fortnight window that we go with. But it's a little bit different. It might take a little bit of adjustment to get used to this new format. But because again, due to the depth of teams that we have, it's a lot to do a one whole show, and we gas out. So we figured let's split it up on 2 days, cover a little bit more ground, have more energy to work with in a shorter window of frame here to work with. And I think that might be cool to go with. And again, it's a trial and error thing. There's going to be good shows. There's going to be awful shows. We know what the whole process is going to be like. But at the end of the day, as long as we provide you the content that's going to be valuable for your enjoyment, whether you watch or listen to it on the way to work or whatever you're doing at that point, that's the key for us, that we want to make sure it's fun, entertaining, and we'll still have our stupidness to go with. It's not like it's going to end and that's it. So we'll make fun of each other no matter what. So we look forward to doing that moving forward here. So there you go. Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be doing Tuesdays. Iggy will be doing Thursdays moving forward. All right, Iggs. Because it's the first show, we're going to dive into it with a baseline look of the divisions that we'll start off with. Let's start off with the co-eds. 1, 2, and 3 this year. A lot to look at in terms of what we have. for co-ed this season. Let's start off with co-ed 1. Look, this is the best of the best, right? We have 8 teams in co-ed 1, and already we're starting to see a lot of close games. It's a small sample size, but I think coming into this division, it has a lot of fascinating angles with how these teams are built up from player 1 to player 6.
Yeah, co-ed 1, really interesting. It's the best of co-ed, and especially in the winter season. That high cap that we were talking about, cap just now, really allows teams to bulk up their rosters, and so you see higher division players come play in co-ed. You saw yesterday, first time you saw Pat Jerome, Tam Death, Isaiah Allard, Marvin Steinberg, but even the best of the best women as well, right? It means the Jasmine Farmers, the Sarah Parkers on full display. So definitely one of the interesting things that I wanted to see. We saw Sub-Zero and co-ed 2 in the Fall Cup take home the championship there. They started off beating or tying, I should say, Kiss My End Zone, what I think is going to be one of the favorites here in co-ed 1. So I want to see, very interested in how their season's going to go down after a championship season in co-ed 2.
Yeah, I score kept your game that you had on Monday night at Hebert, and then obviously I was on Sunday doing the Le Parcenet game against Plenty of Fish that came down to a 1-point win for Le Parcenet and how they won that game. And I think, quite frankly, what's going to be key in this division, Iggy, will be the defense and how well they play, because the quarterback play is going to be exquisite in this division. There's some really good throwers, whether Sarah Parker, Maud Lacasse, unfortunately you throwing for your team. But I just think that in the 2 games that I've scored cap, it's that one play that's made the difference. And that happened with Plenty of Fish and them losing on Sunday at Loyola. And if it's that window that you have to be pinpoint on. If you're not pinpoint with that passing window, it could cost you a possession, cost you 6 points, or the game at the end of the day.
Yeah, and actually one of the other rule changes that we didn't discuss, and we'll talk about it here because it's relevant to co-ed, is that you can have only a maximum of 3 male players on the field now. So generally teams will suit up 3 males, 3 females on the field. And I can tell you, it already made a difference. Already, co-ed was a division and a structure where teams that had the best women often had an advantage. I can tell you that additional female on the field makes that even more true. That's one of the benefits that Sub-Zero or Zero Sub in this case in co-ed 1, that they're going to be have an upper hand on many of these teams. They have the best of the best women on their team, and it really neutralizes what other teams can do offensively, even just down the middle. If you have a male quarterback and a male snapper, that means you only have 1 male wide receiver and 3 female wide receivers, right? So it'll be interesting to see which teams rush female players like Jessica Bestampin, one of the best out there. Teams that have female snappers and excel at that position are able to have 2 male wide receivers. Again, if the quarterback is male. So all those dynamics of how really positioning male and female players in several key positions is going to be very, very important in this division.
Yeah, both Stappen actually is only 13 sacks away from a century in her career. So, and that's actually since winter 2022. So she's done that in relatively quick fashion right now. So she's only 13 away from hitting the century mark in her career as a pass rusher, and she had some headaches for you as a quarterback in your game as well. I think before we get to co-ed 2 here, I just think that for co-ed 1, 8 wins I think is more than enough. I think 7 could get you a top 3 spot, because I think this is going to be very close here with how these teams are stacked up in co-ed 1 this season.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to say 7 wins is going to, just get you into the playoffs. No. Yeah, sure. 7 is going to get you top 3. Maybe I can see a team going 9-1 or 8-2. I
don't think so, Wiggs.
No,
I don't think so.
It's going to be that tight.
Look at the death row teams in this division.
I think any of these teams can beat any of the other teams on any given night. Maybe you're right. what do you think would be the cutoff for the playoffs here? Is that a 5-5 season?
I think
4-6?
wins is probably going to get you in as a low end seed in this playoffs.
And 4-6
because
is not a bad season. So that's 4 wins.
it's 40%.
Yeah. So start winning your games early.
Yeah, 4 wins. If you obtain enough credit in the first 5 games, if you can go at least 3 wins, if you get 4 wins in the first 5, you're good. As I said, 4 wins gets you in. But if you get 3 in the first 5 games, look, the target mark at that point is that you get 2 more wins, and that should be more than enough for safety in terms of being in the playoff by early April as well. So I think this division has a lot more question marks in a good way of the intrigue of what's going to happen. When we look at Co-Ed 2 and how this is going to play out here, look, it's a bigger division. There's, I think, upwards of 20 teams in this division.
22.
My God, like I look at some of these teams. There are some returning teams that have played in Co-Ed in years past. Tigres being one of them. Kiss My Christmas Balls had a phenomenal fall cup as well. Pick 6 we know very well. The IG Team 2, which is the junior team of IG team in Co-Ed 1. Fit Squad, Y&Y. There is a lot of very good, desirable teams that will have a big impact in this wide open division of 20 teams this year, Iggs.
Yeah, I mean, you're just rattling off all of those, and then there's a couple of Co-Ed 3 teams that are trying to make the jump up to Co-Ed 2. You have the ball hard universities of the world. Who's going to carry the bows? So, want to see how those teams progress. It'll be very interesting. But then you have some, even women's team, I believe, Dream Killers. According to Zachary Alberts Gill, our Co-Ed 3 writer, saying that they're making the jump from the women's division. Well, of course, we'll talk about Co-Ed 3 in a second. So never mind what I just said. But yeah, some teams, like I said, making the jump. And then again, you have some relatively new teams that are trying it for the first time, like Tam Villiadet and Max Gidou with Team Meow Meow, bringing their Sarah Maud Anel, I believe, is the quarterback. So you got Chris Rivet as well, right? And having Lottie Willette on his team and Pass Whippin with Emerson Peterkin and Joey Natara on the team. So that's another one that I'm very interested in seeing how they do.
Team Meow Meow is the coolest name in a Co-Ed 2.
Pretty cool.
It's a very cool name.
Although Tom was telling me that he wanted to know how the QB flex works, and I guess now since we're on Co-Ed 2, basically the QB flex, for every point that your quarterback is over the QB cap of Co-Ed 2, it costs your team 5 points that will get lowered from the general team cap. So Tom Billiadev was asking me, how does that work exactly? And I explained it to him. I believe he's 5 points over the cap. So 5 times 5, that would reduce his team cap by 25 points. And he said, well, you can just call us Team Ow Ow if ever I need to replace Sarah Moldanen.
Well, like this to give everyone a little clarification here. If you go on the Co-Ed 2 standings right now, you can see the green part, which is 16 teams make it, 4 don't make it. If you look at the playoff breakdown of this page, disregard that. We'll have the proper protocols up to understand how this plays out for this division. But I think right now, Iggy, with how this division looks like, there's a lot more questions because against a bigger number of teams in this division here. I think Kiss My Christmas Balls will be a team to watch out for. Tigres always intrigue me because now they've been in the league now for 2 seasons. They were there for spring earlier this year and for fall cup just passed, and they've kind of gradually improved. So I think they might be in that top 10 mix, mid-table format for them. Pick 6, I'm also looking at as a team I'm circling to see how well they played this year as well. You mentioned Team Meow Meow with Tam Death and what he's built up here. But also, some teams that right now had a bit of a glitch, right? We know about Fit Squad. They lost on Monday at Hebert. Kenny Coulee is a team that has played in this league for a while now. Y&Y. These are teams that have had success in years past. I think they'll all be factors in the top 10 table of this division this year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and speaking of top 10, I mean, I can see a team going 6-4, even making the top 10. So, but yeah, like you said, I'd like to see the how teams, like you said, Tigres is a fascinating team with their hurry up. They're notorious now for their hurry up offense, and it catches a lot of teams off guard. Let's see now that some teams are more familiar with them, see how they adjust and obviously put their best rusher on Nestor, the quarterback for 2 days.
Well, they have. I think one of the biggest advantages that they have in a good way is that they're language arts, right? Because they're a team from Mexico, so they can communicate in Spanish for those who don't understand Spanish. So they have the ability to adjust on the fly, which could be an X factor for them. Because talk about no-huddle offense, right? We've seen now Chip Kelly in the NFL or even in college football with Oregon back in the day. I'm not saying they're going to run like 45 million plays in a span of 20 seconds, but it keeps teams on their toes, right? And I think that's the one thing now we're seeing is that teams are trying to be much more aggressive and trying to get as many plays as they can. And I think in this division here, we do have the freedom and vibrancy from these quarterbacks to really make a big play or two along the way. So I think Tigres could definitely be a sneaky good team. 5-6 wins could be in their category. But I think for those who are trying to get into the playoffs here at minimum, I think 3 is going to be the cutoff to get into the playoffs if you're going to be a 16 seed or higher.
Yeah, I don't think 2 wins is enough, given all the talent in the division. I think you're looking at 3, maybe 3 wins and a tie. You may need 7 points. Might be the cutoff for this division.
Yeah, 7 might be ambitious though, because that means you're probably if you get 7, I think you're now ranging yourself in the 10 to 13 range. I don't think. I think there'll be some teams that will be ahead of the pack, Iggs, that get you 8 wins, if not 9 wins. And then you can have a cluster of teams that are going to be that 6 to 7 range, I think 3 or 4. And then after that, I think everyone's going to bounce from either 2 to 5 wins. And I think that's going to be a bit more disparity because it's a bigger sample size of teams, right? And I think we'll have more disparity in the bottom half of the table compared to the top half.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that speaks enough for co-ed too. If we transition, if we may.
I want to talk co-ed 2 all night long here.
You want to? Yeah, never mind. You host the show. You're right. I'll be hosting on Thursdays. It's Tuesday night after all. Posting this on Wednesday, of course, on YouTube. But yeah, go for it. Wrap
up co-ed 3. This is a division that we know our good friend Zachary Albert-Gills, who's going to be writing articles on co-ed 3. He's got Michael Scott's thoughts in this division. I think we got to be patient with this division, Eggs. I think because there's teams who are trying to get themselves acclimatized playing the FPF. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of disparity of score lines where I think there will be at least a handful of games that will have no 5 plays or will be 14-plus mercy rule type of thing here in this division.
Yeah, and I think patience is going to be a key word, like you said. Block Party is a team like Zach highlighted and underscored in his article. Let's see how they're experienced and they played together, so that's one leg up that they have on most teams. Another one that would be interesting is Thunder Villains, right? This is the Thunder mix of the Villains team from last year's co-ed and Thunder Buddies that went to the co-ed 3 finals, led by Terry Babylon himself. That's going to be a team that he's put together a very nice roster in co-ed 3, and just a shout out to Jeremy Thompson O'Reilly had 5 interceptions in his first game. That's a hell of a way to start the season.
And Julien Preux, I believe, is playing quarterback in co-ed 3, I believe.
Yes, he is with Aguirre Duke.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And they won. They beat Zach Albert-Gil's team on Saturday in Broadside, I believe. So I mean, look, there's some good quarterback play in this division. I think what will come down to is defenses, right? How well can you adjust your defense and not give up the big play? And I think, look, it's early. It's a small sample size of one game for all these teams here. But, you're seeing that a lot of these wins were 12-plus point wins. There weren't many one-possession victories here at the end of the day. So defenses have to adjust and be more, I guess, on your toes and keep themselves pressing forward to try and come up with a big player, too, if they can in this division this year.
Yeah, the offenses are going to be sporadic, I'd say, where maybe a couple of handful of teams have the experience to put up 30-plus points. But some of the other teams, the bottom half, are going to struggle, I'd say, putting up 18 or more. So, yeah, you're going to see maybe some disparity in the score lines, like you're seeing a couple of them in week one. But it's still going to be an interesting to see who are those other teams that are going to rise to the top.
Right. Wins, losses, minimum amount of wins to get in is what in your mind?
Oh, I think you just need one, maybe 2 wins to get in.
I think 2 would be enough.
Seeing as there's only one team that gets eliminated.
And how many wins for the division?
To win the division, you might have to go 10-0 or 9-1 in this one. Whoever will long way down in March, we're going to see maybe a couple teams at 8-0. At least I'd say there's going to be 3 teams at 7-0 at one point, or after 7 games. So I think 10-10, but maybe 9. But I'm going to say 10-0.
I'm going to go 9 wins. I don't think there'll be an undefeated team in this division. I think there will be undefeated, as I said, going to late March. But I think somewhere along the line, those teams will knock each other out, and we'll have a 9-1 team, 8-2 team. I think 2 wins will be more than enough to get in the playoffs here. Again, if you look at the first 5 of your schedule, if you're able to hit 3 of the first 5, I think you're good in this division to get in, at least as a 3-win team going towards April playoffs. All right, on to women's division. And this is probably one of our fastest growing divisions, because now we have 2 of them. But you can just see the quality play being filtered out now that you no longer have the superiors and the minnows playing in the same division. We've been able to filter them out and have them in a proper division. And this is probably the most exciting time to be a female football player in Canada and, of course, in Quebec, where it is the hub for athletes galore going towards maybe Team Canada, the Olympics in LA in 2028, which you can see on display here at FPF. Iggy, we look at the women's one and what we have. We have the 6 best teams. I got to see Les Bleus play over the weekend against Sub-Zero. I got to see the Bees play, led by head coach Sarah Parker with the young Bees, play over the weekend against Vortex. And there's this division, I think, will be the premier of all, because same thing as, when we break down divisions, this is going to be one of those photo finishes that it's going to be, I think, very close and tight in terms of the wins going towards the halfway point. And I think, again, I think 8 wins should be enough to win the 1 seed, but you never know because it's so close to how these games are going to be this year in women's 1.
I mean, who's your early season favorite to win the division? Is it not Sub-Zero coming off? They won it in co-ed too, like we mentioned a little earlier.
Yeah, look, I think Les Bleus will figure it out. I think Les Bleus just had a tough run against Sub-Zero on the weekend. I just thought Les Bleus' offense didn't find their fluency in that game. Emma Racine looked wonderful playing, but that's the biggest problem is that they have a roster of, I think, like 9-10. But they only use 4 options. And again, I know it's 5-on-5, but can they find the ability to distribute the ball a little bit more balanced here and try and get more of that? I think Sub-Zero was able to use that more than Les Bleus did. But I think Les Bleus is my team I'm going to watch on. Not because I'm wearing a blue hoodie here today, but I just think that they are the cream. They're the queens of the manor when it comes to Quebec football. And I think that they will defend the manor. And I believe they will be in the finals by the time we have the finals in early May.
I mean, yeah, I think Bees are going to be an interesting one. That the teams you mentioned, of course, Sarah Parker was on the sideline. She's quarterbacking Sub-Zero. Sofia Presuti was actually the quarterback for Bees and looked very impressive. Honestly, even though they only scored 18 points, they were driving the field and just came a little short once they did cross midfield. Of course, the women's division being no first downs. For every 10 yards is a first down once you cross midfield, and then just have four more plays to try and punch it into the end zone. But I did, from what I saw from the Bees, both offensively, but especially particularly defensively, allowing only 7 points against a pretty strong Vortex club. Though Vortex, met a little speed bumps along the way in the fall season. But adding Lauriane Beauchamp to the squad, she's one of the best female players in all of Quebec, all of Canada. And the Bees were able to shut her down. Only until a late game score made it a little closer. But the Bees' defense looked on point.
Well, look, the best game of the week is going to happen Wednesday at Hebert, and that's going to be Blue Poudre against Brutes, right? This is a sumptuous matchup of eloquence of these teams here. And I believe that it's going to be first one to 40 wins. That's how confident I am that these teams are going to drop points on each other on Wednesday. And that's why it comes back to my point that we mentioned this earlier in the show, Iggs, about quarterback playing and how in co-ed that might be a key against those defenses because the windows are super tight. In this division here, the defenses are so complex because they play these shoots here and they put a lot of traps out there that you fall into that trap, you'll get burnt, right? So I just think that the quarterback play has to be alpha level. And I think all these quarterbacks in this division have that pedigree to really make a big influence with their teams being successful this season.
And just to wrap it up here for the women, so given that the Maud Lacasse finally broke that barrier and won her championship in
Damn
the fall
straight.
season, and won her championship in the fall season, what odds do you give for going all the way in a really stacked women's one division?
Well, look, Le Bleu, I think rebounds back. I think Brut will have. Like it won't be like it Fall Cup. Okay, let's call it for what it is. I think they know that. I think they can be a 7-win team. I really believe they can be a 7-win team, which would probably put them somewhere between 3 and 4, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. So I think that's fair for them. Look, they can easily win 8. But I think what it'll come down to is all about matchup dependency and who they face in that week and how hot is Maud Lacasse, how good is her receiving core. Because even in that final they had in the Fall Cup over Red Nation, they won convincingly, but it wasn't domination. So they're not going to be able to dominate as they did in the Fall Cup, Eggs, but I think they'll definitely be a contender that we'll have that conversation about when we do the playoff preview in the spring.
Percentage points, Mo. Give me a percentage point. The question was percentage.
I will go with 28% if they win.
Okay, I'll give them 30 just to 2-up you.
Yeah, if you look at the if they break even, it's 29. That means no one wins, right? So again, it is what it is with that. But look at women's too. Again, it's a humongous division of 19 teams. There's some really good teams that I got to see. I saw Cavaliers play Monday at Hebert. Red Nation is in this equation. Fit Squad's in this equation as well. Carababes are in this equation. The Cheetahs, the Vanity Cheetahs also have a team in here. Le Petit Miette are back as well. There's some teams in here, Iggy, that I think could be on the cusp of maybe not this year, but in 2 years from now could be in women's one at that point of the development of a flag football team.
Carababes are a team that went to the final last winter season, so saw a bunch of success. I think that's one of the teams that could make the jump to women's one and come winter 2025. Right. But 365 days from now, we can have revisit that conversation. But that's definitely one of the leading candidates. They face off against Kiss My Boots. The Kiss My franchise has extended its feet and dipping its toes in the women's waters.
Now, Kiss My Boots. What type of boots are we talking about?
You want to go with Uggs, or you want to go with I don't know what do you want?
I know it's a women's division, but if we're talking about like cool, we go with Nike Luna Force Ones.
All right.
I'm saying those are the coolest boots out there.
But yeah, that's going to be an interesting team. It's a nice team they've put together. Laurie Willette, Abigail Cockerton, Lauriane Potvin, Erica Dubois, Amélie Durocher, just to rattle off some of the names. A lot of I think and as speaking of this with some players, I think their experience playing in the co-ed divisions, where there's a bit more physicality in the game, where you're defending some male receivers. I think especially on defense, that aggressiveness and that physicality that they're used to from co-ed, transitioning that over to the women's teams, I think that's going to give them a small but significant advantage over some of these other women's teams.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the key in this division is depth in women's too. I think women's one, you can get away with quality, right? Depth is always is a plus, no question, right? But in women's too, if you have that depth, because not every player is going to be of high quality, right? You have players who are only in high school who are playing this division, or first year stage up, so they're not at that physical maturation of some teams who are maybe in the mid-20s or late 20s for that matter. So I think having that quality depth can definitely be a big factor for them. Yes, it's 5-on-5, but hey, you never know. And we've seen teams who've lost players to injuries that have hurt their chances to win in women's. So I think if you have that quality depth to work with, Iggy, I think that's going to be a saving grace or an X factor for them to win this division. And now, look, I'll ask you this question: Are we comfortable on anointing one or two teams being the heavy favorites to win this division this year?
I mean, the Cavaliers look strong. Even the Patriots CSL look strong from the highlights that we posted. But I gotta go with Carababes. That was a very strong team. But just to list 3 or 4, those would be the leading contenders for me.
So what about good old Red Nation? I mean, they've built the momentum. I mean, do we put them in that conversation with Carababes as being the favorites along with the Cavaliers, who might be, I think, on the outside of my point? I think Lynx Net will be a team to watch out for as well. But I agree with you on the Carababes, but I think Red Nation might be a factor because they always play well as they move along in the season, and then when they hit the playoffs, that's when they're peaking.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. We got to give them their due diligence, their due justice. Sorry, here they've made the finals. What is it now? 3 of the past 4 seasons or so.
They won 2 of the last 3, I believe,
or at least 2 of the last 3,
or 2 of the last 4, whatever it is, right?
Right. So they have the pedigree to make playoff runs. That's definitely they've proven that. So yes, they're definitely in that conversation as a contender.
Yeah, I think what though. I think there'll be a surprise team in this division. I don't know which one yet because it's still early in the process. But I think there'll be we have established names, right, Iggs? But I think there will be that one team that we say, oh my God, this team we didn't see come out of they came out of left field, and here they are in that top 5 conversation, and a team that no one wants to play come April for playoffs.
I think that team might be Kiss My Boots, the one we were just talking about, led by Marie-Ève Girard at the quarterback position.
Well, it's gonna be fascinating. Could Kiss My Boots be that team, be the X Factor team moving towards the season here? We're only 1 game in, right, for most of these teams here, so a lot of content to unfold when it comes down to these teams. All right, Eggs, on to the 35 division, the 35 plus KTFL draft and the 35 plus Legends draft. Now, the KTFL draft, which is in conjunction with the KTFL League with our good friends out there in the West Island. I know it's only 4 teams here. But are we going to anoint JMJ as usual as being our favorites to win this division this season?
I mean, sure. JMJ, if you look at the roster, just opening it up here.
Ryan Kastner, Scott Binns, Kevin Kusai, John Moody, Francis Haley.
I mean, yeah, that's a good roster. Even Coruscant Robertson is a solid addition to the team. But yeah, when I find about 35 plus, there's a lot of good quarterbacks. And Ryan Kastner definitely up there now, having played with #NR this past spring season. I think got him back into a higher rhythm, higher level competition. So look for him to be one of the better quarterbacks here in 35 plus.
Even Flag Plus, right? I mean, you got a pretty good team in Flag Plus with Jim Clethris, Jason Rossi, Tony Lala, Vince Nardone, who's been a stalwart in the higher divisions in FPF. Dave Allen, we know very well, who's part of this KTFL process. So I think this might be a 2-horse race with Flag Plus and JMJ being the favorites. And ironically enough, they play in the opening game on Monday on January 15th coming up.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a solid roster. Can't remember if they made the finals, but this was a team that was scoring at ease with Jason Rossi at the helm. Found a good connection with GM. So then that's another team definitely to watch out for.
All right, and the other 35 plus division here. Look, there is a favorite in my books in this team here. Bearskins, we know this is a team that's played in divisions in the higher caliber in years past. I look at their roster and what they've have here. Chris Millard, Jim Carathis, Kevin Libman, Marco Bertoli, Neil Ettinson, Ryan Edson, Sean Payne, Vince Nardone. Without even looking at the other teams here, this is my favorites to win this division, no question.
Yeah, I have to totally agree with you there. Bearskins, after a tough, was it Division 3 last winter?
Yeah, they had a bit of a tough turbulence run in that division.
Right. I think going, I want to say 2-8 in Division 3 last year. Definitely. This is definitely going to be a team that goes 9-1, 10-0. You rattled off the names, but just the top level talent: Chris Miard, Neil Ettinson, Marco Bertoldi. That's really strong. That's for sure.
And look, even Team Ethnic Senior to carry over for Team Ethnic, David DeAndre, who you know very well, that you played with. They are going to be a fun team to watch in this level of competition. How they are, Henry Dam, Abdel Martin, and a couple of the guys in this roster. So, but I just think Bearskins are my favorites. I think they might run away, and I'm not saying they go undefeated, but they have a good chance to be 9-1, if not 8-2.
Yeah, but I do think Team Ethnic Senior, like you're saying, is a team that will give a run for their money. They have, I'd say, probably the better depth over Bearskins. Bearskins will have the higher top level talent, but the depth runs pretty deep on Team Ethnic Senior for sure.
Quickly here, Everything Hurts, Anthony Seja, Frank Tiolo Colatrella, who we know very well, quarterback, Josh Curry, Marco Rinaldi, Matthew Boucher. Look, I know the competition this team played in the lower divisions of FPF, and they were kind of outclassed in most of the time here. Yeah. But this might be a perfect fit for them, and they might win 4, if not 5 games, be that middle team in this pack of 5 in this division.
Yeah, I see them more, getting a win every other week here. Not maybe they can string, 2, maybe 3 wins in a row. But that would be at best. One of the things we've seen over the years. Let's see if Frank Teoli Colatrella can find his niche here in the 35+ division.
Of course. All right, Iggs, on to Division 6 and what we have, and now we get to the bigger divisions of teams and how this is, and we get a lot of teams who come up to us saying, "Hey, you picked against us," and we're like, "Who are you again?" And then they go, "We're Division this and this." Okay, cool. All right, Iggy, let's dive into Division 6 and what we have lined up in this conference. Your early take of, is there a team that has caught your attention that you're keeping a track on and how this can play out this year?
Just early on, they played, want to say the spring, maybe even the fall cup. It's all a little blurry now, coming back from the New Year's and holiday break. But Skol was a team that made some key additions. Zumel, I'm blanking on the name, but Vincent Amel, excuse me. Vincent Amel in Division 6 is going to be a very dangerous weapon. Already, Skol was a team that clearly has played together in the past, and adding another big piece in Vincent Amel is going to do some good for them. Another team I saw play on Saturday, as we do have Saturday shifts from 12 to 3 in the afternoon in the Loyola Dome. I saw the Royals with Eric Paluziak at quarterback. Saw pretty good things from him in a 27-6 victory over, albeit a brand new team in FPF. They looked pretty solid for my liking in Division 6.
Yeah, I'm curious about Texas Juices and how they'll react to this division. We know them very well, Eggs, from years past.
Yeah.
I want to know how they will be in this division. I think they could be a team to watch out for as a whole. And I think in Division 6, for what has built up, mentioned Skol before. Another team that I'm looking at in terms of where they will be is Cavaliers de Rohan. This is a team that we know very well from years past as well. They have been competitive. I like how this team's been built. They had a convincing win over the weekend, their first game of the year. When you factor in what they've had in play so far from their roster that they built up here, look, they have a pretty good receiving core to work with. You look at Alex Badger, who I think can be a big influence this season, this year for them. They can make an impact as well. I think the quarterback will be key for them as I try to see that there's no one that will play for them at quarterback. But
That was weird. I'll have to take a look at that because I score kept that game.
Shocker.
The and the quarterback. Maybe I was training someone and showing them the jersey violation. But to your point, Mo, it's exactly what you wanted to look at was the quarterback. I can tell you this was not their regular quarterback. This guy looked good. He looked comfortable in the pocket. Did not look like a Division 6 quarterback. I'm not saying a Division 3 or anything, but he did look like a solid foundation, a solid playbook, and like you said, the cast of receiving characters that we know, the Gabriel Spazuks, the Alex Badgers, the Claves Rabash. These guys have shown that they can score, and they put up 28 points in the first half. Let off the gas a little bit, but playing again a brand new team in Chamonix Shows. Cavaliers Rohan, you're right. With a new quarterback, with a solid quarterback, might be an 8-2 team that come the end of the season are in a prime position for a good playoff run.
Yeah, Chamonix Shows I'm intrigued by them, not because of the name. I think the name's super cool because it's Laval's toughest. But Jonathan Bottazzi had a good game. I mean, he had 5 catches for 84 yards, 10 targets, 2 TDs. You look at the quarterback here, Matthew Bottazzi. Again, not the most ideal numbers. These are almost, how can I to use a good comparison? It's almost Zach Wilson numbers, 9-31. 9-31, right?
It was Division 6. It was clearly the first time playing. They were having fun out there, but definitely a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, and again, look, Div 6 is a little bit, again, it's developmental, right? And one thing that you and I both know very well is that there will be a lot of running up of the scoreboard. There might be a situation where a team might go 10-0 because they play the weakest schedule, and when you get in the playoffs, you get knocked down in the first round. But that's why this division, as great as it can be, which it is, we might see a handful of teams that will go 8-2, 9-1, and 10-0, but they all get bounced in the first round because they end up playing a team that they didn't play at all during the regular season, but they're just better competition in the playoffs at that point. So there's always an upset too that we see in this playoff window for Division 6 this year.
Yeah, definitely the case.
All right, on to Division 5A and B. We'll go 5A first, Iggs, and how this plays out here. So look, we split the divisions in two for 5A and 5B. Reason being, because we want to make sure that we have the right filter of how it is. We don't want to be too big of a division that creates a bit of a chasm of talent here. But your early thoughts on how this can play out for 5A. We know the Vultures have a new quarterback at play this year. A team that I watched on the weekend was the Ducks. They look pretty impressive in how they are on both sides of the football. A team that I'm looking to see is Rico Riders. They could be a good team. Pass Arabia, we are very familiar with. A Squad had a bit of a tough start and broad start on the weekend. Bandits 2, Super Troopers as well that I got to see. So there's some teams I'm very familiar with, but they did not have the most sterling start that they wanted to their campaign this year.
Yeah, looking at the division come preseason, I'm very intrigued with this division. There's some nice teams here. Once again, the Thunder Buddies are going to be one of the teams that probably go 8-2, even 7-3 would be a good record in this division because of all the good teams. West Island Habibis are making a run back in Division 5 as well. I believe Nick DeMalo, I want to say, was the quarterback in this one, just as the stats that come up. But that's definitely one of the teams. Yeah, Nick DeMalo throwing. His legs are going to be a dangerous weapon for this team and for the entire division defenses.
Look who's catching the ball for him, though. Sam Anastopoulos, right?
Yeah, that was a very, very nice addition. They built some chemistry in the 3-on-3 charity tournament, and it's definitely already transitioned over in the first game.
Yeah, and look, they got Zach Stacy, Samantha DeMalo as well, Kareem Sim as well. This is no pushover. I think the West Island Habibis are in that category with Rico Riders to make noise in this division. Hale Marty's, we know very well, is on top of that. So, again, I think this has more there's more high-end boiling action of how this can be for this division here. I think 8 should be enough to win the division to get the number 1 seed. To get into the playoffs, of course, is a bit tighter. I think it'll be 3 that gets you in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the team will go 10-0. So 10 wins for the number 1 seed. And I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm tempted to go with 4 wins, but that seems a little high. I think you're right, Mo. I think 3 wins will get you into the playoffs.
Yeah. And watch out for the Ducks. I know it's early, but they impressed me on Sunday. Antoine Chabot is a good two-way dual quarterback for them, but their defense played really well. Gab Barbeau had an interception. Loic Dagenet had an interception as well. Barbeau had 2 PDs. They have athletes, and this is a team that I believe did play tackle football. Trying to get familiar with them before they played flag. And I'm going to circle the Ducks as a team that will probably be 500-ish, but could get to 6, maybe 7 if it falls your way this year.
And you're saying you're looking out for them to be a surprise team coming in.
Yeah. I think the Ducks have that pedigree. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one for me that could win and could win the number 1 seed at least for the regular season, and be that dominant team. Give me Sleeping All Stars. There's Coslin Skladivo playing in Division 2, but also playing in Division 5. You have Hakeem Charles. You have there's another name on this.
Anyways, there's a lot of Caravan guys on that team.
Yeah. So I mean, that transition between tackle and flag is not always a pretty one. But some of these players have played flag, as they know it's yes, you're using the same equipment, same football, but really a different sport. Some of these guys have already made that transition to what's successful for flag football. So we'll look for Sleeping All-Stars to be perhaps that team that goes 10-0.
Yeah, AJ Gomes is talking about Sleeping All-Stars being a dark horse team to watch out for in the Fall Cup. So we'll see how this plays out for them. On to 5B. And look, there's some old reliables. Ramthins, Toon Squad, Win Diesel, Top G, Betway Bandits had a nice win on Sunday as well that I got to see them play. And, there's some teams that I got to see that did lose that have potential as well to make a noise. But I think this division, again, has a bit more parity in terms of that. I think it'll be a lot closer in the competition in the top half of this division going towards the full-out 10-game schedule.
Yeah, one thing that pops out to me are the retired All-Stars that you saw yesterday. Please send a rusher. Please, if there's one thing that I beg you, please send a rusher when you're in anywhere on the field, but especially in the red zone. 3 times you didn't send a rusher, and 3 times your opponent scored touchdowns. Please send a rusher.
Yeah, they're gonna have a tough road, man. I think it's a classic team that has football experience, as you said before in a previous segment, but don't know the flag game as well, and they're gonna have a lot of ills along the way and trying to get themselves up to date of being a competent flag football team in this division.
Yep. Otherwise, some of the things that I'm gonna look out for in this division. You got the Brewers, of course, returning. Always find it tough they always find it tough, even which division to register for, right? They're always that team that we're getting our butts handed to us by these young Division 6 teams that are coming up and playing their first season in FPF. Have found usually their best success in Division 5B, so that's where they are here. So let's see how far they have taken their development. Shea Benny Express, one of these teams like Win Diesel that were trying to make Division 6 rosters, but were finally booted up to Division 5B. Those 2 teams coming off wins in Week 1, and of course Win Diesel coming off their championship in Tier 4. It's a good 29-0 shutout win in their first Division 5B.
I'm circling Packing Packers. I know this team decently well from the Sage Up ranks. Noah Delulu Langelier, who played quarterback at Champlain College. If he's going to throw, I'm intrigued. I think he could be a wild card for packing Packers and trying to win this division here. Guillaume Cote I know very well. Felix Downing as well. So that's the team I'm going to circle as being maybe under the radar that you want to buy the stock now because that could be pretty high when it's all said and done. So if we're buying stock today, Iggs, give me packing Packers is my team to really buy low and sell high.
Okay. All right, very nice. And what are you looking at in terms of the number one seed? You have
Win Diesel, Toon Squad. Those are the teams. I think Betway Bandits can be in the top half of this division here. Yeah. I think they're probably after Maccabees. I think have a stout team. They were competitive last winter, going towards the season here. So I think right now, Win Diesel, Toon Squad, Ramfins are probably the three that I'm circling as being the top end targets for this division. What about you?
Although you might want to change your thoughts on Ramfins. I believe they don't have their returning quarterback from the past 2 seasons. So
we will eliminate them from my conversation then.
Well, there you go. So they're no longer the best jerseys in all of FPF.
They sell the best logo in FPF to your chagrin that you do all the time when I say that. They're right there. You do it again right there, Iggy, as usual. Shocker, Iggy. Anyway, on to the next division here, which is 4A and 4B. As we move up in this division ranks here, as we look at 4A, as this computer.
Jerome Bovington, your Division 4 writer for this winter season. But yes, we'll start with Division 4A.
Yes, finally the website working functionally well for me now. Finally. Okay, so look, still CRA. They got their butts handed to them in Fall Cup, wrong division, and they came out with a vengeance. Do they make noise? Like, I don't know if they're going to be the big hitters because you got the West Island boys, LBB. Those are 2 excellent teams in this division here. I know Utapimps, you know very well. I think Trap Stars will be a factor in this division here. Born in the 80s, I think will be a factor. But could still CRA be in that conversation,
though? Are you saying that because they're the number 2 seed right now with a 13-12 win?
Well, no, because they were in the wrong division last year and they got wrecked, right? I mean, they even said we were hurt. We just got wrecked. We weren't in the right division.
Yeah, I think Nirosh Sudesh is decent quarterback. You know, it is Division 4 though. The defenses start getting serious in Division 4. Idaho Utapimps didn't look pretty in their Week 1 game against them. So only putting up 13 points. They took advantage of a dismantled Idaho team, I would call it, and barely squeaked out with a 1-point victory. You're taking Nirosh out of one of your better receivers along with Alex Bacalani. You're taking a receiving option out. I did like the depth that they showed, but this team's going to go as far as Nirosh takes them driving the field.
Right. I think LBB, our boy Olivier Polito is a guy that I like a lot. I think they're going to be in that upper half. Trap Stars, look, they always put together good teams. Their biggest downfall is what makes depth and injuries. That's always been the hurt. Their bane of their existence of late. If they can stay healthy and have that depth, I think they will be in the top 5 of this division this year.
Yeah, I think some of the I think a lot of the additions that some of these returning teams have made are serious here in terms of born in the 80s, adding Sanders Armand. He made his presence felt with, I believe, 2 touchdowns and a 2 interception performance against the very Trap Stars you're mentioning. So born in the 80s, stacking up, becoming a little more physical with their size in adding Sanders Armand. I also look at our boy, Matthew Zeppetelli, half Sanders FC. That team looks very strong. Ryan McNally, Sam Mashtub, and Janai Lewis, maybe a name you're familiar with.
I am the Janai.
But an 82 rated player in Janai Lewis. That's some serious stuff. They're maybe top heavy, but with Matthew Zeppetelli having 3 very strong receivers there, I think that's a serious team that can do some damage.
Yeah, I think you know one thing to watch out for. Le Montagnard, I think, will figure it out. They just didn't get going. They had a tough second half against Big Fun, but Big Fun, they're going to win ugly. I mean, Evan Eli Nole, we know very well. Great dude. It's not going to be pretty, but he's effective though. Like it's like a junk pitcher in baseball. They just throw junk, but he win games, and that's what he does. And I think Rico Tolino, Devin Dawu, Doug McKernan, as please say McKernan Doug, right? Kenny Boutillier, they have, and Zachary Albergill's Russian. They have a good core, and I think they could be a surprise team in this division this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they didn't really add any pieces though. They added Jonathan Joseph, but from Division Five to Division Six, they didn't add any big hitters to this team. And already last year, I believe, went 5-5, maybe 6-4. So I can see them following in their footsteps of last season.
On to 4B, Eggs. Look, we got some old teams, some young teams, some returning teams here. This could be the closest division. Team Sexy, X-Men, had a great game against 4th and Schlong. They came out to the last possession. Voodoo, we know how they are, right, man? They can be world beaters one week and then be nothing the next week. They're good. Back to the Future's back again. The Penetrators, we know, are going to be in that conversation. The Killer Rays. This is the who's who in this division in 4B.
Yeah, you know what? And it's a nice, 14 team division. It's you're gonna see a lot of rivalries being continued here, like you mentioned, Penetrators and Killer Rays, Back to the Future. This is a nice and cozy division where everyone's gonna get to know each other, and the rivalries for me are gonna start here in Division 4B and maybe move on to Division 3 in a couple seasons. But for me, the one I'm looking at, the X-Men. These young kids, 16-year-olds had Darren McDazian running all over the place. Credit to him. He was trying to keep up with either Daniel Devine or Noah Swaminidan in the backfield, chasing him around. But, man, you don't want to be rushing either of these X-Men young quarterbacks.
No, you don't. The X-Men, of course, have their fathers as well involved in this team. But they'll be in that top 5, I think. I think 4th and Strong, Killer Rays, Penetrators, Team Sexy, X-Men, those are your 5. I think Voodoo's probably outside the top 5. Wolfpack, I'm looking to see how they can rebound back, if they can be a lower-end team here. But I think Killer Rays, they might be your solid favorites to win this division because they have a sound football team from player 1 to player 10 on this roster.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take a look at their 2023 calendar year, right? I believe I want to say Division 5B, had a tough spring season in Division C, but that tough Division C season really led to a strong Tier 3 season, and is going to pay dividends now in 4B. I mentioned in one of our comments, or someone mentioned, or we talked about them last year, that they're a Division 4B team. And after playing them a couple times with Idaho Unipimps, playing against them in the playoffs twice, this is you're right, probably a top. I want to say top 2, maybe top 3 if you want to squeeze in Le Renard Vif, because that's the team you didn't mention, but won the Division D2 or D1, over the X-Men. So that's a team that's looking to repeat as champions. Of course, from a spring season, look to win a winter, the hardest of all FPF seasons.
So I'm going to give you to show to you how it is for the Killer Rays this year. Their first 3 games, Penetrators, Le Renard Vif, 4th and Schlong. We'll know how they are after 3 games if they're a legitimate team.
Yeah, that's a tough but good way to start your
test.
Start your season.
It's a very good test for them, and we'll know. We'll know if they're the Killer Rays or just the Rays. So that's how I see it. But I'm really excited for 4B, man. I think this might be the best of the divisions that we have for the men's leagues this year. On to Division 3, Eggs, as we make our way up the ladder of rankings here for Div 1, not too far, Div 2 as well. All right, Div 3. We know some of the old returning teams are coming back here. Brotherhood's back in this year. Blue Chips as well. It's like Back to the Future again for this division of who's who in this conference. But as I wait for my computer to open up the page here, thank you, Rob Capan, for not paying the FPF bill on time for the website. Unless you have yours up ready to roll, as you do. What do we expect from this division for Div 3 this year?
A lot of great teams. Honestly, Division 3 is pretty loaded. What I'm looking at, yeah, sure, Brotherhood and Blue Chips did battle. That was a kind of fun game. Two similar style offenses, I'd find, or I'd say, those run and gun backyard football style.
Which we do highlights. We have highlights of this game, do we not? Or are we still up in the air for this highlight package?
Yeah, I think there were some highlights available. We'll see if our producer, the Nightingale, can get those up. But the
there we go. It's right there. Look at that standard 8K right there.
There you go. So Jordan Mitchell, I believe, at the quarterback here for as we see for Blue Chips, his scrambling ability in that backyard football. Hey, look, everyone run all hooks, and then I'll get open, and then just beat your guy. That type of offense is very similar to what the Brotherhood do as well, as we're going to see later. Theo Ojea throwing and dancing around in the division,
right?
With of course the weapons on Brotherhood, run deep. Jamal Gittins, Kwesi Gordon Mall, the Majid brothers, right? So definitely two teams that were already doing battle in Division 3, but Division 2 loaded teams.
Okay, so we have 4 divisions. Do like lightweight? I think are going to be fun to watch with Simon Dagenet back in there, and they have a bunch of Champlain kids playing. Trey Bentley, Jaden Edgehill, Juwan Edgehill, Chaz Kidder if he's going to stick on the team. Emile Gigois is a really good player as well. But like 4 divisions, Iggs, are we going to run into that situation where we might have a power division and everyone else just sucks on the other side of the conference?
Did you have a group in mind? Because
well, no, I'm just saying because it's almost random, right? That we align these divisions, right? And now we got 4. We got 26 teams in this conference or in this division outright, and we might say that Group C and D are the stronger divisions because look at Group D right now. You got Beer Belly Brigade, Lightweight, Diamond Bougie, Speed Academy. I think will be okay. Backyard Bullies should be fine. The Grokuk are a good team. That's a hell of a division here, Iggs. I think anyone can win from that division and make a Final Four run. Group C, Kiss My In-Laws, the Minnesota Medizian, right? Like Griff Nation, Arush. They had a tough run as well. That might be a little bit weaker. But then you look at Group B and Group A. There's no slouches in Group A or Group B with his Brotherhood, ECW, Greendale, Human Beings, A-Team, I think Blue Chips, Mongoose as well. So there's no easy game, but I just think that there's probably a superior division of the quality teams in those 4 divisions that we have.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Group A and B. Those two, really, really strong teams. Maybe 1 or 2 weaker ones, one in maybe each. But that's what she said. Looked like they may have turned their season around in just 1 game. The Bruins looked very strong yesterday, beating out a team with a lot of chemistry in Les Gros Cup. Bruins dismantled them with an 18-point victory. Rocco Cristiano lighting it up in the division once again. The Group B looks very strong. Sharks, you have that Sharks team with Corey Wolowski, Jalen Greaves, probably Noah Groper and Dondre Borden, if I'm not mistaken, on that roster. So Sharks, again, look for maybe 2 teams coming out of Group B that could potentially make it all the way to the finals.
Watch out for Air Force One. They're intriguing. They came out with a win over Arush, last place stop on defense for the sack to kill off the game, to prevent Arush from coming up with a victory. I think Arush might have difficulty in this division. I just don't. They don't have Simon Loisier on this roster. Maybe later on. Sure, I'm not too sure, but they just didn't have the cutting edge on offense, and I worry about them because this is a good team. They've been competitive for many years in this FPF world, but this might be a tough run, especially in this division that they're in this year.
You have, by any chance, maybe a finals prediction already? Do you see two teams that stand out to you? Any chance?
Well, I think like Don and
I'm not
Bougie.
putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I think Don and Bougie
Yeah.
Brotherhood.
Oh, you think Brotherhood can make it that far?
They can because of who's on that roster, right? The Kits and Jamal Gittins, Quasi Guatemala, Theo Jaya. Uh, you know, it's
Most
good, right?
athletic team.
Bruins, they're good. Sharks are good, right? Jalen Greaves, you mentioned his name. Unfortunately, he had a tough calendar year with what he went through with some medical hardships that he had to go through. But thankfully, he's back up and at him, and hopefully now back to hopefully being in the football shape that he once was, being one of the dominant players, whether it's tackle or flag. If he's healthy, that makes a big difference for the Sharks going towards the season. Your kiss my in-laws. I think they'll be in that conversation as well. So I think I think I give you a better picture or better answer by week 4, week 5 on who I think will be the favorites. Right now, it's a little too early for my liking to kind of lay down the anchor and who I think can go far.
All right, I'll circle that one down, and I'll come back on what is that going to be? That's going to be around the Super Bowl. So come Super Bowl, I'm going to ask you for
Yeah,
a
you'll come
final
crash the
word.
Tuesday show and let me know.
There
You'll
you
just
go.
come in abruptly and do it, right? So, Division 2 eggs. Um, so here we are, Division 2. As I wait for my computer to open up, thankfully here we go. This is fascinating because Stoics big win over Terror Squad. Many thought, talking to those who were there, shocking win. Chris Rive looked wonderful. Hashtag NR, maybe they found their right niche in this division and maybe have things settled at quarterback finally. I hope for their liking. Um, CFB, and as you can see right now with what we have lined up from the highlights that we have on the screen, CFB, they're going to be a favorite in this division here. Ambush, I think, will be one to watch out for. Poseidon's Kiss. There's some good teams in this division. Skill Bees might be in the lower end of this division. Have yet to play yet, as they'll play on the weekend in Brossard.
Yeah, exactly what you're seeing on screen. Run it once after a pretty disappointing Fall Cup season. I've put together a nice roster here in Division Two. As the highlights run, eventually we might fast forward just to get how this game ended against who's is Blue Ballers that they're playing with Fred Dupree. That's another team that looks very dangerous.
Well,
Fred
Darius
Dupree
Simmons.
what's that?
You have Darius Simmons on that team. Ezekiel Tied.
Yeah,
Guys who are
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be in the CFL draft this spring.
Yeah. He added a Mendel Joseph, as you see here, catching that touchdown. He added a lot of these young and big studs to his weaponry, and
Yeah.
he's gonna have a lot of fun throwing to these guys for
And
sure.
CFB, Cat Friendly Braves will be no slouches themselves. I think 7 wins, or a big part. I think 8 wins will get you 1. 7 will get you somewhere between 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7.
Yeah,
I think the cutoff to get in the playoffs will be 3 wins. Silent Ticklers is a good team. Dirty Birds plus, you know. So we'll see what happens with those teams. Terror Squad, I think they've had it's funny. Terror Squad's had a really a rough stretch of seasons. Like Fall Cup, they were a non-factor in Tier 1, and they get off to a very disjointed start to their campaign in Division 2 this season.
yeah, they're gonna be. I mean, they have the pieces. You have AJ Gomes, Gab Dab Champagne, Tam Death, Isaiah Lard. The core's there. The pieces are there. They just need to, maybe get some more rapport and just get all on the same page. Run more routes together, and maybe by week 4 and 5, yeah, you're gonna see a better team in Terror Squad, but game 4 by week 4 and 5 or game 4 and 5, that might be a little too late to reach the 2 to 4 seeds. But maybe if they can get in that 7 to 10 or 11 range, that would be at least a good enough season for them to clinch themselves a playoff spot.
Right. On to Division 1 here, Iggs, as we wrap it up. No question, it's by far our biggest division, right? Of 11 teams. We've not seen 11. I think this might be this, I beg your pardon, is the biggest season for Division 1 of 11 teams since the inception of FPF in 2005 when they had 18 teams in Div 1. See, and 20th anniversary, there you go. We wrap it up like that. Okay, so look, we know there's no Dan Lazaro this year, who will be a contributor with us on calling the Audible for Division One. Braves All Stars, we see from the highlights right there. That was another heavyweight fight in the opening round between these two teams. Okay, so do we have a clear cut favorite, or are we still in the early stages of trying to figure that out?
No, I don't. I think this is the year where I don't think it's All Stars and Braves as the clear cut number one and number two. I do ultimately think Braves are going to end up with a number one seed. I think this week one matchup already determined that in terms of the head to head as a tiebreaker. But the Maroons looked very good in their return to FPF, right? And they added a few more pieces themselves. Flagmo and Sack looked and dismantled FFN, putting up 50 on them. A nice 50 burger on a Sunday night, right? Even Blessed and Rayom Lumina had a Hail Mary touchdown last
That's a
second.
smash and grab win.
Right? That was Marvin Steinberg now being a weapon as quarterback, throwing it up to Will Power and coming away with a victory. So there's these teams that are making advances. Steve Haraprasad and Bless, the one in particular. Maybe not the challenge for the number one seed, but definitely challenging for the 3 and 4 seed. Gaining a home field advantage in round one of the playoffs is huge, right? Starting with the ball in the second half is why you want to get that better record during the regular season. So while I think Flagman, Sack, and Maroons, I think they can challenge for that 1 or 2 seed that were always going to Braves and All Stars.
What about Jameson's and KJP? I think they're sort of been in. Jameson's didn't really have they had the run in the spring season and they lost in the finals at Papineau. But that team didn't do well. The formation of that team for Tier 1. KGP, they kind of faltered a little bit as well. But this could be their dojo where they could be a middle pack team. They could be a 6-win team, 5-win team, and be somewhere between 4, 5, 6, and 7. And no one wants to play them come April for playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll be, hovering in the 4 to 6, 6 to 4 record at the end of the season. I just don't see that KGB is still missing that extra player, even 2 players. They're probably 1 or 2 players away from being a top 3 seed.
Right.
In terms of the Jamesons, they've meshed kind of the silent ticklers and them together, right? Adding the Adam Rosens, the Dan Mancinis, the Jordan Panettas of silent ticklers, kind of fused them together with James, the classic Jamesons, right? James O'Hain, James Tyrell, and Khalil Kerr and Quake Johnson coming back. And of course, adding Manuel Larroy as a depth piece. So I think if you're going to give me a team that's going to go higher between Jamesons and KGP, I think it's pretty evident that it's the Jamesons. They just have more firepower all around.
But KGP's got that wealth, man, of championships.
Yeah, they do. They have that experience going on playoff runs themselves. What was it? 4 or 5 championships in a row?
Something like that up until recently, right? So,
they do have the pedigree for sure.
Yeah, I think this division will have a lot of upsets. You're right. I think the parity will be a little bit more evident in this division. A team like the All Stars, they're projected to be favorites because they're coming wild in that team. I think they'll be in the top 4, top 5 for sure. FFN, I beg your pardon, will have a tough go at it. They'll be in a dogfight to get in. Royal Luminal, this got cute. They should have won, but lost that game. But I think seeds 6 through 11, I think 1 or 2 games separates that bracket of teams when we get to the knockout rounds.
And then I guess the last question we have to ask here, Mo, ATH squad, Jeans the Alexi, quarterback of the Tier 1 champions. How much of his success can you see translating and bringing that over into the winter season?
That's going to be a good question because this is the best of the best, right? In theory, this is the best of the best, but he doesn't have AJ Gomes in this team.
Right.
He's got Darren Wilshire. He's got Carl Ashley. He's got RJ Giraud, former Carabin, playing the CFL for a bit. Jeff Carpentier as well. Jerry Brebeuf is a guy that he's very close with as well. On paper, they have athletes, but in terms of the quality of Division One, I'm not sure. I think they'll be competitive, but they might sneak in as maybe a low C. But again, Gisli Alexi Primetime is a guy that you do not want to go up against because it's what he has done in his body of work as a playoff quarterback, whether it's co-ed or, again, Division A that he did or Tier 1 that he did for Fall Cup.
Yeah, he's a game breaker. He has that game breaking ability, and yeah, that's something you don't want facing in any one game.
Of course. Okay, so that'll do it for us for our general preview of CTA. I know it's a bit different in terms of where we are. We're remote, but on a day or on a recording of this where it's snowing outside, I think we're okay in our comfortable confines of our homes on this winter Tuesday night. I don't know if it's snowing outside your area, Iggy.
Oh, yeah, it's snowing hard.
Yeah, I have not looked outside. Yeah, I got to move my car in the driveway, which I will soon enough here. But look, just to let everyone know again, are we doing picks of the week? Or we're gonna hold that off till next week.
Yeah, we could do that. We can get Ali Reza if you can start preparing that. We go through the games. We'll
do it next week.
We'll save it for next week.
Next week. We don't get the Nightingale too much work to do on his first flight, taking over for Eagle, right? But we'll do picks of the week starting next week. But again, just to let everyone know, so moving forward, it'll be Tuesday, Thursday format. On Tuesday, Iggy's Thursday. We're going to do 2-week windows where I'll do divisions for 2 weeks, and then he'll do the other ones for 2 weeks, and we flip it. And we'll have on contributors as much as we can for the days that we're on. And we'll might even cross-pollinate. I might come on with him on a Thursday and vice versa on the Tuesday. So you'll see us together at times here, but most of the time we'll be solo ships in the open season of the FPF world, which is a longer season. As we know, we're going from January now till first week of May. So if there is a bright light, is that by the time we're done, we'll be hopefully in shorts and T-shirts for Roadshow?
Yeah, very possible. Yeah, absolutely.
Fingers crossed. Well, hopefully, if not, we're going to have snow on May 4th for the Roadshow. So again, just a reminder, guys, uniform protocols, uniform policy will be in effect after week 2. So please have your uniforms with proper numbers, no pin, no marker on it, no tape on it. Belts, flag belts are as of now, they're $10 moving forward. There might be a handful of white ones that we still have in stock that will go for $5. But once that is done, it is over. It is $10 moving forward. Complex protocols, no boots and broadsword. Please change the locker rooms if you're the opening window of games at Laval, at Hebert, and Brossard, or even Loyola to an extent. Anything else we have to remind? Picture Day as well, week 2, right? Picture Day is going to be this weekend, so please be ready for that. And we'll take a second picture if need be down the road. Anything else, Iggy?
No, that's it. Get look spick and span for your week 2 team pictures.
So there you go. So this will be the last time we'll be together. Our next time we'll be together, who knows when. But we'll have shows Tuesday and Thursday. We'll lay it out on Instagram stories on who's going to do what, so you'll know when to tune in for your division or divisions that you might be playing in FPF Winter. Final words, Iggs?
Yeah, keep tuning in, and there's as you saw, there's going to be a host of media things, of course, calling the Audible with we record on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the viewers are going to watch us on Wednesdays and Fridays. We of course, you've seen some new Instagram content is upcoming, so stay tuned for that. Check us out on Instagram. Of course, we have our articles coming back. We have our host of article writers and our team there. So whatever media content and however you want to consume it, FBF's here to get you all things flag football.
Magic words, please.
I don't do that.
Good night, Washington Huskies.